Well, howdy, y'all. Hey, I wanted to talk college football for a few minutes. I happen to have graduated from Texas A&M University, and just recently they seem to be in the spotlight. I think there was a fellow that was I want to say a linebacker, which A&M used to be known for being a real big linebacker school. He ended up being recruited by Coach Sumlin, who has now left and gone over to, I think, Arizona. And anyway, and the new regime came in, which is Jimbo Fisher from FSU, I want to say. He didn't really quite fit for some reason. Maybe they had enough linebackers and they didn't have a different position for him to play, or maybe they needed that scholarship for somebody else or what, I don't know. But anyway, he decided that he wanted to transfer out of the program and go on over to Arizona with Coach Sumlin. But one of the rules the NCAA, I think, has presented is that you have to sit out a year when you transfer. And that's probably been done at the behest of the coaches who said, hey, if we open up, everybody can just transfer at will all around. They'll be just like, I don't know, pinball machines, and they'll just be bouncing all over the place at every whim. So they instituted the rule that you had to sit out a year when you transfer, unless, and there's a new rule that says, if for some reason there is, I guess, circumstances beyond the student's control, if you put it in writing in some documented sense and submit it to the NCAA, then they would consider whether or not you have to meet that requirement that you sit out a year. And in this case, the linebacker submitted a letter to NCAA that said, hey, I kind of injured my foot, and it was kind of a sprain, and they told me to just, take a couple of aspirin and keep on playing, which I did, trying to be a team player. And then his foot ended up, turning black and blue, and his leg swole up, and he was really kind of out of the game at that point. So he put that in a letter and sent it to the NCAA, but he also added a couple other things, just kind of help shore up his case a little bit. And I think he said that he was given, on one occasion, $300 to help wine and dine some potential recruits that came in, unofficial visits, I believe they were. And then on another occasion, he was given $400 by a coach. I don't think the main coach or whatever, but it was like assistant coaches gave him the money and told him, go wine and dine this player or these players. I don't know. I think the NCAA allows $40, which is really, in this day and age, you can't do a whole lot other than maybe take somebody to dinner one time at the Roadhouse or something. But anyhow, I don't know if he was spending that on one recruit that was coming in to look over the college campus, or if there were 10 of them and he was within his limits. I don't know. I guess that's something that'll have to be investigated by the NAACP or whoever those people are. NCAA, I think, is what they call them. But anyway, I think there was something else he put in there. I can't remember. But anyway, the NCAA says that if it's something that affects the well-being of the player or the safety, in this case the ankle was about the safety, the well-being. He also mentioned that some of the coaches assistant coaches were demeaning the players by cussing at them, and I don't know that there were any specific examples given of that, but they were in some way demeaning the players, which I don't really condone. I don't think you really need to do that kind of stuff. They're all adults out there. You're trying to test maybe their physical and their mental abilities, set some, see what kind of limits, if they can push through those or whatever. But there's a whole lot of, and I think you all know, there's a whole lot of emphasis on winning these days. In fact, our university, Texas A&M University, has somehow gotten together $75 million to pay Jimbo Fisher over the course of 10 years, with the expectation that at some point in there that he win a national championship. And that's all fine and good and well. I think, if you don't have that competitive spirit, then, we even want to get out on the field, so to speak. But anyhow, that's a whole lot of money. And, if you hearken back to the days of the gladiators, I don't see that there's a whole lot of difference between the gladiators of Rome that played in the Colosseum, that fought to the death, occasionally had a lion or a tiger sprung on them from a trap door or whatever, just kind of, to excite the crowd, than what we're doing today. Yeah, they don't really play to the death. In most cases, occasionally there's somebody that's lost due to the, heat factor or has a heart attack or something out there. Football is very strenuous. You get out there with 30 pounds of, gear on you, and, in 102 degrees or whatever, and 70% humidity, it taxes your body. I don't care how big and tough you are, man, it will tax you. So right now, players don't have a whole lot of rights per se, and I think that really is something that needs to change. There's I don't know what they call it, concussion something, CBTs or whatever, but and that's probably not right, but concussions are a really big factor that have been happening out on the field because of the helmets that we wear. I think back in the old days, they didn't ram heads quite so much because they just used leather helmets or whatever. Today, they've got those, plastic with a lining in them, and they really go at it and bang heads like those rams up in the Rocky Mountains. So a lot of people have been getting concussions, and, maybe it doesn't show up until later in life, and that person kind of turns into a vegetable or gets enraged, can't control their temper or anger. Maybe they had those issues to begin with, I don't know, but anyway, I would rather see some of that money pledged by that Coach Fisher, $75 million, or by the university, even better, who is in a mechanical engineering college and should be able to contribute to, making a better mousetrap, so to speak, or headgear for these people that are out on the field, kind of in harm's way. They're the people that are really putting their lives on the line, and all these other people are benefiting from it. The universities make gobs of money. Coaches make gobs of money. They build these, crazy, amazing Coliseum, gladiator competition arenas. You can look at Kyle Field. I can't remember how much they spent on that, but it was in the multi-million dollars to even build that. So some of that money, I think, really should be able to go towards the athletes and towards their safety and their well-being, because they're the people that are really putting their lives on the line. So I would think at the very least they could, establish something that was like a players, some kind of a board or committee or something that would be an advocacy for the players. You might throw in there a couple of Heisman Trophy winners in the last 10 years and see if they would kind of serve as chairman or whatever of the board. And then, bring in a team captain from each of the main universities or whatever, and at least kick around some ideas that would help the players. It would not particularly diminish the sport. So anyway, I just wanted to kick this around, and if you have comments or suggestions or whatever, I think we've had enough status quo, all the way from the gladiator days back to today. Excuse me, I gotta have a quick drink. But the players, being the ones that really have the skin in the game, should have some kind of more representation. I'm not really saying we need a union or something like that, but I think there needs to be some steps forward that help protect these players out there, because it's tough enough going through life with the handicaps that are thrown at you every day without putting a significant handicap on you, and that's your thinking cap, so to speak. If you damage that, your life is not ever going to really be right for you. So anyway, tell me what you think. If we could stand a players advocacy group, if we could somehow channel off some percentage of the money that's paid to the coaches. I think just like we have NATO, everybody's got to pay 2% for their defense of the country or whatever. Well, it wouldn't be such a bad idea for everybody that puts in 2% of whatever they're paying their head coach or their whole coaching staff to some fund the NCAA would use to, help improve the game in some kind of way. The welfare of the players, the equipment the players use, that kind of thing. There's a lot of money going around out there, and not really enough of it is moving in the direction to help the players. I think it's just lining the pockets of other people at the expense of the players. And like I said, they're the ones with the skin in the game. So anyway, thanks for watching and listening to me ramble. If you have any suggestions or whatever, or comments, curses, or whatever, leave them in the section down below. Thanks for watching.